ọjọ́ rẹ̀ bí àná dàpọ̀ òmìnira òun náírà wá ìlú polúkúrú muṣu ewé tàgbà ǹjẹ́ yan wọn níṣu abẹ́ orí ewé rí ṣùgbọ́n ẹ ò fẹ́ rí abẹ́ orí àgbà ẹ̀rí àtẹnujẹ ló fẹ́ pa yín pẹ̀tẹ̀pẹ̀tẹ̀ taná ní ìpọ̀pá ẹni bá tàgbà kó lọ mọ́ ọ̀fẹ́ ní ṣé pẹ̀lẹ́ máa sùn ṣé bá sọ pé o mọ kọ́kọ́ ẹ̀yìn àrò lẹ́ máa wà ṣé pẹ̀lẹ́ máa ṣẹlẹ̀ o ṣé pẹ̀lẹ́ máa sùn ṣé ní ọ̀ṣẹ́ náà máa kàn o ẹ̀yìn àrò lẹ́ máa wà ṣé máa ṣẹlẹ̀ o.
Kí ni sùúrù jẹ̀lẹ̀? Kí ni iṣẹ́ tí kò ṣeré? Pẹ̀sẹ̀ lérò tó lóko, ó kúkú ṣiṣẹ́ rẹ̀. Ẹgbẹ́ sọ pé a ṣì wà lọ́mọdé.
The Baldwin and his famous quote on change posited that change is inevitable. Change will always occur, but the application or direction to change determines its progress. It is on this note that I welcome you to the most informative, educative, and analytical program, Pinpoint, from the stable of the favorite radio frequency, iPower 102.7 FM in Relay Owo.
Ó dà sí gbogbo yẹn, wọ́n wá sáré ògbó, wọ́n aṣọ ọmọ jẹ́ẹ̀jẹ́. Ẹ̀jẹ̀ kan wọlé tán, gbogbo ẹ̀jẹ̀ tán jẹ́ láwọ̀ kẹ́ṣẹ́.
Pinpoint is a program that updates you on events and happenings that is reshaping the Nigerian system and on the state as a whole and polity. This is a program that informs you with detailed analysis of events across politics, security, economy, education, and an in-depth view of government policies with related trending issues in the Nigerian system. The program Pinpoint has a feedback segment where listeners are expected to call in to hear their views, opinions, and contributions to any topical issues discussed. It is on this note that I welcome you on board on the program. My name is Akin Adebayo, your host on the program. We're going to short break to be back in a moment. Please don't change the dial.
1960 nígbà yẹn fífi gẹ́gẹ́ bọ́ ṣe wí darúgbó tó mi lọ lòdùnú pátí òmìnira òmìnira ìdílàbí ẹ̀wọ̀ náírà wá ìlú polúkúrú muṣu ewé tàgbà ǹjẹ́ yan wọn níṣu abẹ́ orí.
Welcome back. It's your program Pinpoint. We are transmitted from your dialing station iPower 102.7 FM. In the course of the another segment of interactive section with the listeners, the phone number is 081 65 52 4699. I tell that again, 081 65 52 4699. Likewise, if you want to join us on our social media handles on TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, X handle, or Instagram, it is iPower 1027. I call it again, iPower 1027. Today, we shall be discussing on a particular issue of concern here in Ondo State. And what is it? Insecurity. there have been so many issues surrounding the issue of insecurity in Ondo State. The governor has come out to say during his media chat recently that we no longer experience a kind of terrorist attack, or as the case may be, in Ondo State. But unfortunately, it seems as he's trying his best in making sure that this insecurity comes to a stop or to an end in Ondo State. If persistent, is still more prevalent. And the Yorubas will say, it simply means as you are trying to check a particular incident, is kept on reoccurring. And that has been the major issue for some time now in the state. And that is one of the reasons why we resolved to bring to the public notice today a kind of analysis of kidnapping or insecurity event that's taking place in the state. And of course, people have always said one thing, that if it were to be the era of Akin Adebayo, that things wouldn't have happened this way. The question is this: is it true or false? Can we not say that the God that is not there is not performing up to expectation? Or maybe he's trying his best. Maybe there are saboteurs frustrating the entire system, frustrating the entire process. And like its Commissioner for Information said, Ajanaku, that there are some saboteurs, that some people, or in fact, he christened them to be unscrupulous elements, threatening or trying to paint the state as not being safe. Are these excuses genuine? Or maybe, it's an information minister and commissioner, he must have been availed with some information that probably some people are not aware of. And yesterday as well, the governor said that he will make sure that he brings to a stop every act of insecurity. Both the perpetrators and their godfathers and the sponsors, and every of them, if anything is traced to such persons, they will be brought to book. All these things are statements, but are they transmitting in real time? We should be careful now with the kind of language you use now, because when you hear about any transmission now, it has to do with electoral results. But by the time you say something in the public space, is it transmitting? Is it having effect in the real service, or as the case may be? So these are issues we'll be discussing today. In summary, we will be delving into a kind of comparison of maybe the Akin Adebayo administration security-wise to that of Aiyedatiwa. Both have actually tried their best in securing the state, but how far have they gone? What have they been able to achieve in the process of making sure that the state is that the state is secured for all and sundries, that the state is secure for business, state is secured for, social activities, and as the case may be. These are the issues we'll be delving into today. Like I said, don't change the dial. It's still your radio station, iPower 102.7 FM, transmitting from Imrele, Owo. Like I said the other time, our studio line number is 081 65524699. I tell that again, 081 65524699. The persistent concern over insecurity in Ondo State, particularly kidnapping for ransom, banditry and farmers' elders clashes, and related violence have intensified in recent months, fueling widespread public anxiety, protest, and debate about leadership effectiveness. Residents, especially in hotspots like Akure North, Iluabo, our axis, and the rural forest areas, expresses deep frustration that daily life, farming, traveling, and even health safety feel threatened despite official assurance of progress. Recent events highlight the gravity in early March 2026. Angry youth in Iluabo blocked the Akure or expressway with corpses of kidnapped victims, protesting repeated killings and abduction, including cases where gunmen shot victims dead, abducted others, and demanded a ransom of 100 million naira. Similar unrest has erupted in nearby areas, with communities barricading roads and demanding urgent government action. Report details fresh incidents, such as abduction of 3 persons in Iluabo on March 9, 2026, the killing of a monarch in a failed kidnapping attempt, and an attack on worshippers This has sparked fears that the state is shifting from a relative sanctuary to a zone of rising danger, impacting investment, agriculture, and even high-profile figures. However, Governor Akin Adebayo has acknowledged the worrisome surge in abduction, vowing decisive crackdowns on kidnappers, their sponsors, collaborators, and local enablers. He had directed intensified operations involving police, army, and Amotekun, with recent arrest of about 90 kidnapping-related suspects in early 2026, building on over 85 in 2025 and 2,500 total crime arrests in 2025. He emphasizes, you see, by the time you begin to hear these figures, you begin to ask the question, with all these arrests, like for instance now, like 90 recently and 85 in last year. Now a total of 2,500 crime arrests in 2025. If such thing has been done, the question now is this: why are we still experiencing all this? If only in one state we are making all these arrests, we are making all this security, we'll be able to tackle the security challenges. Why does it appear persistence? Now, like we said, around 90 kidnapper-related suspects in early 2026, building on over 85 in 2025, and a total of 2,500 crime arrests in 2025. Aiyedatiwa has continued to emphasize continuity from his predecessor, Rotimi Akeredolu, that is the visionary behind Amotekun, noting no major terrorist operation since 2022 Owo Church massacre, and claiming kidnappings have significantly reduced in some contexts, framing many issues as isolated or cult-related. That was the statement of the governor when during his media chat with some selected TV stations. That was what he said. That significant that apart from nothing so major of terrorist operations since the 2022 Owo Church massacre, and the claiming and kidnapping are significantly reduced in some contexts, framing many issues as isolated or cult-related. The question is this: if the governor could say that there has been no massacre, there has been no this and what have you, and kidnapping, and unfortunately only in this year about 5 instances has equally taken place in the same Iluabo or axis. If I'm not mistaken, in Ipele, around December 31st, getting to the new year, there was a serious attack in the police station and it was burnt down. Till now, we are yet to identify what led to what, or who are the people that actually perpetrated such heinous crime. And you see, it begins to give citizens, indigents, this concern. When you begin to hear words like we are only having maybe some isolated or issues, as the case may be said by the governor, these are things that are actually bothering the citizens on the way forward concerning what we are experiencing. Yet, public sentiment and stakeholders' voice often contrast sharply. Critics argue that efforts feel reactive rather than preventive, and that's a major problem. We should be preventive than being reactive. How can we be preventive if they are putting in place necessary security measures? Amotekun needs to be well equipped. Amotekun needs to be well encouraged so that their morale can be high. Recently, we heard about an issue where some Amotekun said that they are not being given appointment letter. Fine. Akeredolu look better than Amotekun. But unfortunately, as God will have it, he was unable to see it through completely. And since his deputy was not that succeeded him, I think it should have taken off from where his boss actually stopped. And that is making sure that Amotekun is legislated and it became maybe an agency, as the case may be. You see, like Yoruba goes thus, they do. How do you expect Amotekun staffs or security agencies to work if, for instance, they are not sure of the future? In a case whereby their life is not even insured, God forbid anything happens to them, where will their family continue from? These people, based on the fact that recently a case was taken to the court about them being given an appointment letter. Of course, everybody knew what Akeredolu passed through in the course of him establishing Amotekun, right from the presidency. I remember vividly Malami telling him that he does not have the right to actually introduce another security apart from the constitutionally enshrined security outfit, referring to the Nigerian Army, Nigerian Air Force, maybe the Custom, Immigration, Nigerian Police, and as the case may be, as he cannot unilaterally establish another security outfit. And Akeredolu made him to understand that as long as he is the chief security officer of the state, and the case whereby the life of his indigents have been threatened, that he has no choice than to provide an alternate security network. And as we speak, that singular act now has been one of the major reasons why it appears that indeed state policing can come to bear, that indeed state policing can be introduced to the extent that it is the way forward. Just last week or thereabout, the IGP in person of Olatunji Disu has set up a committee to look into the creation of state police, and he actually used Amotekun as a template. For crying out loud, these are what you're expecting. This simply means that Akeredolu actually did a yeoman job. Akeredolu then actually beat the bullet by even putting his second term on the line. This was a man that was so desperate about that was so resolute, that was so determined, that was so intentional about the safety of his citizens, and he went all out, even at the expense of his second term. But lo and behold, this was an issue that ordinarily we expect by now. Effort should have been he had laid the foundation. So as a matter of fact, I expect now by now that effort should have been built on the foundation laid by Akeredolu. So don't change it down. Want to go on a short break? We'll be back in a moment. Like I was saying, yet public sentiment and stakeholder voices often contrast sharply. Critics argue effort feels reactive rather than preventive, pointing to alleged underfunding. For instance, only 6% of Amotekun equipment fund increased in 2025 amid rising threats. If for instance 6% is what was just added to the budget of Amotekun from the rising threat that they're experiencing, how do you now expect the morale to be high? Overstressed security and the need for more decentralized community-led approaches. Protests reflect eroded confidence, with call for faster response time, better intelligence, and forest surveillance and prosecution of enablers. This concern stems from a shared desire for safety, life-protected farmland usable without fear, highway secure, and community free from the trauma of ransom demand or violence. We know of people that have run away from their houses because of kidnapping. We know of families that have sold their properties, hard-earned properties, just to make sure that they pay the ransom of their fellow family members. For how long shall we continue with this? Now, on Amotekun Foundation, Akeredolu pioneering creative versus editorial expansion. Like I data, for instance, just introduced 500 new operatives in February 2026 and established a crime center control. But current realities demand sustained, visible results to restore trust and halt the cycle of fear. Security remains non-negotiable for progress in Ondo State. Of course, I have just said briefly what the present governor has actually done. He has succeeded in recruiting 500 new Amotekun officers with an establishment of a crime control center. Now, even at all this, the people that are going to work there, is their morale being boosted? If their morale is not being boosted, how do you expect them to perform optimally? These are questions begging for answer. Now, with the issue of the security control outfit, or as case may be, Amotekun unit, what are the implements put in place? Like I've always suggested in the NCSA program that we actually need a drone in this state. Ondo states can afford a non-weaponized drone, an unarmed drone just for surveillance. Ondo states can afford it. Fine, with the purchase of vehicles for this, for that, and what have you. It is even when you are secure, that's where you can drive around your vehicles. So what are we now saying? That the government should be more concerned about the security of the state. Get a drone. All the money being used to purchase those vehicles, if pulled together, can get a drone for surveillance. And I can assure you, these people, the very minute they know that there is a drone, that at any point in time, as the drone is beckoning up, it goes. No doubt, they will actually mind the way they go about their nefarious activities. But in the case whereby we still rely on the kind of maybe ground assault alone, I don't see that being visible in the present Ondo State. Ondo State actually needs a drone for proper surveillance of the state. And for how long shall we continue relying on this one boat at the southwestern state? For where, even as it stands, where is it located? Who is operating it? These are issues begging for question. What if there is a crisis in Ondo State? There is one in Ekiti, there's another one in Osun, there's another one in Oyo. How do you expect one drone to take the entire surveillance? So which simply means that Ondo State can afford its own drone. Ondo State has what it takes to afford its own drone. If Enugu of all states could have 5 drones, what are we now saying about Ondo State? Is Enugu more allotted than Ondo State? No. The allocation being accurate to this state is far more than what is obtainable in Enugu State. Premised on this, I want to believe that if the government is deliberate about making sure that indeed the life of citizens are well protected, I can assure you the purchase of one drone is enough to secure the territorial integrity of Ondo State. I back in a moment. Please don't change the dial. I would like to come to this and say that the wave of insecurity gripping Ondo State, marked by relentless kidnapping, brazen killing, and farmer herders tension, remains a profound challenge that demands unwavering resolve from leaders, security agencies, and communities alike. Recent events, including the tragic protest on Akure Expressway, where residents blocked roads with victim corpses, the abduction of council secretary with a staggering 100 million ransom demand, and a repeated attack in hotspots like Iluabo, Kajola, and surrounding areas, underscore the human cost and the erosion of public confidence. These incidents have paralyzed economic activities, forced schools closure in some communities, and left families in constant fear, highlighting how deeply insecurity has infiltrated daily lives. Governor Akin Adebayo has responded with firm commitment, vowing to root out criminals, their sponsors and collaborators, with fear of favor, directing intensified operation and surveillance, emphasizing arrests, including recent one linked to specific attack, and building on the Amotekun framework through recruitment, infrastructure like the Crime Control Center, and stakeholders engagement, such as with Mieti other leaders for intelligence sharing. He maintained that no major terrorist-style attack have occurred since the 2022 Our Church massacre, framing many incidents as isolated crime rather than coordinated terrorism, while stressing that security remains non-negotiable for development. Yet, the gap between assurance and ground realities persists, as protests reflect frustration over perceived delay in preventive action, funding shortfalls, and the need for more proactive, decentralized, community-driven strategies. Comparing the two administrations of Rotimi Akeredolu led the visionary groundwork with Amotekun creation, while Akin Adebayo focused on sustaining and expanding it amid evolving threat. Both approaches reflect genuine effort in a tough national context, but ultimate success hinges on visible, sustained results that restore safety and unrest. Ultimately, Ondo State's progress, agriculture, investment, education, and social harmony cannot flourish under the shadow of fear. True resolution requires collective action, stronger intelligence, rapid response, prosecution of enablers, community vigilance, and transparent accountability from all levels of government. The people of Ondo State deserve peace, not just promises, but the tangible security that allows them to farm without dread, travel without anxiety, live without trauma or ransom or loss. Only through unified, relentless pursuit of safety can the state reclaim its potentials and silence the cries of protest with the calm of security restoration. And that will be an end today to the program. Before running up, I would like to really appreciate I would like to draw the curtain to the program today by appreciating the general manager of this great station, Engineer Paul Olotu, for a young manager that is doing here, and equally want to congratulate him once more for the birthday that is celebrating today. I pray that God in His mercy will continue to spare his life in good health and in sound mind. And of course, to the head of program in person of Olarotimi Elijah, and also head of news Alaba Adeyemi, and head of marketing as well, and the entire engineering crew led by Mr. Shegun. I want to say a very big thank you to you all. And the studio manager, person of Topman and MTK, I want to say a very big thank you to you all. It has been a wonderful day today on the program. So see you again next week. Till next week again, we meet again. I remain your humble host, Akin Adebayo. Bye for now.
ṣùgbọ́n ò fẹ́ rí.